lot in festivals in different places, Alabama, Mississippi, and all around. And you'd be surprised that people will say, well, I wish they lived up in your area because they ain't no nobody played around where we at. Just all time somebody say, well, hey, we just ain't got nobody playing. But there's been lots of pictures in this area that sure had it.
I love the music of this era in this part of the country because it is very good.
There was plenty of good musicians around through this part of the country back in those days. There's still a lot. Just anywhere you go, there's somebody there could play, And we knew them all back in those days. Played with most of them, and I guess we're lucky to have to be at that kind of pickers around our area.
And music has been a great part of our lives as well as it has the people around us. My first experience with music was born in 1936. So by 1937, they had me going to the musicals. Now, a musical is a get-together. It may be in a one-room school or it may be in somebody's house.
Out in the country, boys all raised, most people would go out raised. And they have old dances at their house on Saturday night. They take the beds down. They have the old square dance. It's just pretty common. That's what we play. I remember we sat in the door maybe 20 rooms or something like it. While they all had done the square dance.
We would just gather at someone's home that had invited us, and everybody would get in one room, and it'd be full of people playing instruments. And we'd all just gather, and we'd eat and sing. But everybody was there because they loved music, and they listened. They would listen to us. They'll play music just like I'd sit there. Daddy and I'd get home about midnight because we knew we had to go to church the next morning, It's always Saturday night.
I knew that come Friday night or Saturday night, in the off-season crops were being harvested or grown. There was going to be a musical somewhere in the community.
You know, Bill talking about different get-togethers they had. They call it the frolic. Now, I'm just going on what my dad and my grandma used to tell me. They call it have a frolic, and they'd all meet at someone's house. He'd roll the rug back off the floor, and they'd have a dance. They'd just...
My Uncle Rob Moore, which was my grandmother's uncle, I guess. He played around the turn of the century, 1900 and 1910. He would play at dances. And the story was that when he got tired of playing, 3 hours in the morning, he'd break a string so he could quit. Because he was tired of playing, and they kept after him to play some more. And he'd just break a string intentionally, and he didn't ever have a spare with him. So I have Uncle Rob's for banjo. So that would have been music in McNairy County, going back to 1900. That was a heritage. It's been part of our tradition, forever.
Most of the musicals were strictly for the people to have entertainment. There was a class of people, I guess you would say, that couldn't afford to do anything else, so they would just have a musical in their home or in the school, and then was a good time.
We played where we get a chance back those days.
And then they would play in barns, really have barn dances to where the aisle of the barn, they would dance in there. And I knew a guy one time that he fell out of the aisle of the barn. He'd been up in the loft, and he fell out of the loft and come down and hit the ground, and they all ran up there to see if he was okay, and he said, "Don't tell Mammy."
Now, we have to understand about how this music works. If there was a place to play, we were going to be there. It didn't matter where it was at or what it was, because the band loved it.
I remember one time we were playing for some guy was running for governor. We started in Savannah that morning. Each one of us had a sound system on a little trailer. We'd set up, play and draw a crowd, and the speaker would come in and set up, play behind us, and we'd go to the next town. Do the same thing. We'd set up and draw a crowd, he'd come in behind us. We wound up in Baltimore, you didn't see that. Then he'd come back and play a square dance that night in the car. We all day and all night in here.
About my first impression, I guess, as I always would say, I got bit by the bug. My daddy come in the house and said, "Now they're going to have a musical down at Uncle Grover's Neil's." That's back in right after World War II, about 6, 7-year-old. And after that, I never did quit wanting to learn some of it.
We went to Utilite School, one-room school, and they cleaned the chairs out and set them around the edges so people could sit. And I felt that music so strong that I was old enough to walk, that I started dancing on the desk in front of it until I went to sleep dancing, and Mother would reach up and catch me as I went to sleep, and she'd lay me down there and laugh.
And I remember coming here to this field, play right here for the Louder Motor Company. Have a stage full of people. And I remember how long that went on, but we all had a big time.
My father-in-law, Tom McCormick, who played here, actually was a mechanic here for Earl Leather and at that time. And then I've heard him talk about having to clean up a garage, on Saturday after they quit working on vehicles, so they can get ready for the music on that.
It drew a large crowd. It was a very popular event. And not only for musicians, but for audience. The audience, the place was usually packed. And there again, I didn't really appreciate the music all that much. It was all hat to me, so some nights I would go to the movie. I'd go around the block to the Ritz Theater and go to the movie and come back, listen some more. But it was quite a gathering.
No, I don't know. This was the big city to me. I wasn't here but about 3 or 4 times a year. I was from the sticks. So what's the name of the biggest city? Well, Chambers, I guess, is the closest place you would call it there between Mickey and Shiloh. Selmer was the biggest. Sheepneck's over at close to Shiloh.
And I wasn't into music at that time, but I enjoyed hearing them play. I was one of the crowd that would come up occasionally.
Well, that whiskey has been an important part of our musical heritage.
He called it the drunkard's hiccups. It's very simple. It's a 3/4 ton. You get rye whiskey. Some people call it that. It's kind of like that. And this is the way Mr. Donald played it. Now this is the old Mickey and Shiloh stuff back around the Civil War, and even before that, around the 1840s and 50s. This is what they did over at Shiloh.
talented people always wanted a drink or two before they played. And there was a place that they could get to. If they could get to that place, I can't describe it. I guess you just say, if they just had to rat them out without too much, they play all night and play the best music you ever heard. But if they come up short or they got a little overindulged, that they didn't perform as well. But that a lot of them didn't perform good until they'd had a drink or two of whiskey.
I'd heard of Hardin and Bob Quall, so I went to staying around Hardin every day. My mother, I'd take her to work in the car, and so she'd give me $1 to go to the pool room and eat my lunch. And Hardin would be there, and the only way to get him to play was buy him a drink. I'd take that $1 and buy him a drink, and down the bottom we'd go. Down in front of my house over there now. And boy, he was the best teacher in the world with that drink run out. It'd take a couple hours, so I got a good lesson for $1. Elvis Black, we'd go down there to his house, and I brought Hardin over there one night to a musical in Valley and go over to Hubert Patty's, you know, get something to drink. He didn't come home for a week, so he stayed down there and they played music.
He didn't come home till the whiskey ran out.
That's right.
Eddie said they got there one night and they didn't have no whiskey. He wasn't much of a drinker. He never did drink any, but they had a little whiskey around, and they discovered that nobody had got the gallon of whiskey. Usually come in small mouth vinegar jar, and so they sent somebody out to go and get a gallon of whiskey. Well, they just went with a wood pile on the front porch and reached and get down and didn't realize that they got the coal oil jug. And they went and got this gallon of whiskey and brought it back. Of course, they uncorked it and it tasted like kerosene, but it did not dampen the party. They just drank the whiskey anyway. It seems like that this talent lives in families and runs in families, and it just, who knows, do they have it to present for the enjoyment for the rest of the world? You gotta wonder about this stuff.
My parents were Stanley and Belleville John. They lived down in Eastview, and I was born in the house where they lived, in the living room. And there's been music in my family ever since I can remember, and even back before then. Mother played the mandolin, and Daddy played fiddle, guitar, little mandolin. My grandfather played the cello. A cello was not uncommon in string bands back then. My aunt played the guitar. My dad's cousin Herman Lee John played guitar. His cousin Arliss played banjo. They just got together and had fun playing, and were apparently good enough that people invited them to play places.
Little Johns are instrumental in our music, in the preservation, and it's just a tremendous thing that.
And as I played more, I got to know more and more of the musicians, and got acquainted with Mr. Littlejohn, Stanton Littlejohn at Eastview there. And that's how I got exposed to all those old acetate records that were made. We would have music there at Mr. Fred Prentice's house at Eastview, and Mr. Littlejohn would be there, and somehow the subject came up about that he had made some records, you know, got talking about that, and I borrowed some of those records and made tapes of them to learn the tunes.
We were young boys in the community, and we would hear that they're making music over in Stanton. And we were always welcome, even though they hadn't invited us. We would invite ourselves.
Oh, anybody was welcome.
Yeah, and so it was kind of a community gathering, and if the word got out, you wanted to go, you know, you were always going to be welcome.
And we usually had a house.
I can't remember us ever calling that. I think we just went over there and just went in and done our recording, and he was always glad that Santa loved music. He loved to do that.
one of the highlights of Danny's career with his fiddle was getting to go to Mr. Stanford and John's and make a break. Now, that was really something. That was big stuff back then for anyone to have a machine, a recorder that we could go to his house and make records. It was so fascinating to realize that he was recording us and it was going to be on record. You know, that was, that was big stuff. Being proud. He bought this recording machine in 1947, and people found out that he had this machine, and these bands and singers wanted to hear how they sounded on record. So they would come and make records, take them on with them, and every time they came, every time a band came, Daddy would always have them make a record for him to keep. And so that's what we have left today. That we're preserving. There's the lights that they made for him, his collection to keep. And he had quite a collection of them.
He wouldn't charge. He charges just what the little disc costs. I've seen back at 50, 60 cents for the little 8 each, or whatever it was. Back in those days, it's not like the tape. If you goofed up, it was on there. You had no way to erase it. It was still on there.
And they would play it back if they liked it. Fine. If they didn't, they'd do it again.
I could never understand why that was such a tedious process. They would tune up, they would play, and then they'd tune up and they'd play again, and then they'd play the record, and then it didn't sound right, so they'd go back and play it again. But now that we look at it from the standpoint of what we got versus what could be, it's so important. I mean,
I think a lot of those recordings that Mr. Stanford was able to keep were those culls that they culled out. I don't think he recorded specifically one for him. He just had 2 or 3 that they had done in a lot of cases.
And you know, one reason he wanted to have this machine was he liked for people to come over and play music at the house. And that was a draw for him. And he just enjoyed the music, and I'm sure gave no thought to the fact that he was preserving a musical heritage.
Yeah, my dad and mom went out there and recorded a couple records, and I was sitting here as he was talking about them. The records weren't like the LPs, and they wasn't 45s. They were like middle size, and they had a small hole in them. The ones they made, which they disappeared out of place, but they were red in color. And we used to play them at home. We did play them. My mom did sing a duet, you know. And they disappeared, which I'd give big money to get those back. Finally, that's about the only thing. My dad went out there a time or two and played with some other people on a couple of records.
They would come in, they would gather around one microphone. We didn't have a microphone for each instrument like you do now. They would gather around one microphone in the middle of the floor on the directional mic. And they would run through whatever they were going to play for a time or two, and then they would play it. And Daddy would sit over near the machine, and the recording was made with a heavy recording arm that, of course, cut the groove in the record. As a result, you had these fine little acetate hairs that kept curling up as the groove was cut. And at one time, he tried just blowing them away, but it ended up, you could hear it on the record. You could hear him puffing and blowing it. So he got a little brush, and as the record turned, he would just brush the shavings away to the side. And we had bands come from all over.
He'd go over to Stanton sitting there. And I remember Stanton sitting down there and taking his little brush, keeping the shave pushed back from the needle. And boy, that was a sight to hear ourselves on record. We thought we was really doing something back in those days. In fact, I've still got some of it at the house today. We were recording back in the 40s, so it's all in there.
It was pretty special. The room was usually full of people, and everybody had to be quiet, of course. They would always bring their families with them, mostly. And the kids, I would go out with the kids in the yard, and we'd play until the yard light and catch frogs and bugs. Play hide and seek in the yard, and let the grown people in the house just play music as long as they wanted. It was fun for us too. Marjorie, Mr. Stanton's daughter, was about the same age as me. And she and I would go out in the yard and play while the Bundles were making their recordings. I go to the break. But then I got to sing Tramp on the Street. And all that was, I thought I was squawking. Oh, top. You know what? I don't even know the words.
It's only a tramp was Lazarus the he who lay down at the rich man's gate, begging for crumbs from the table to eat, was only a tramp laid there on the street.
I wish I could remember the words.
We're just fortunate that this happened in this family, and we're fortunate that they took enough interest in the local music scene. They love music, and to invest in a machine like this, and this is a primitive thing. This is early. That we're fortunate that all that stuff survived.
As I look back on them, they're quite a history within themselves. Voices from the past, people that were our friends and relatives, people that used to come and visit.
And I remember sitting in my daddy's lap and picking the guitar. And then I grew up in Arnold, and he was older than me. Got up a little older, he started playing fiddle, and I played mine for several years. And we played Jackson, Tennessee. I remember we'd go up there and play on the radio on Saturday, and Carl Perkins, he'd come in and pick the guitar with us. At that time, this one of us, this paper sheet.
I remember when Carl Perkins came, and I didn't stay in there very long and listen. I had studying to do. So I retreated to my room and studied, and I could hear the music through the walls, of course.
I'm positive that Arnold probably got one that got him to go. That little deal, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure he wouldn't have noticed that.
But he recorded 3 different songs and took the records with him. We always thought they may have been demo records, but I don't know for sure. It was just before he went to Sun.
Well, back in them days, when he played with us, he didn't pretend to sing. He was a good guitar player. But then later years, he started singing, and he was good. He was real good guitar player.
Miss Pluton wanted to preserve them, so she had a recording of the Carl Perkins thing. You could tell it was Carl, and you could hear the guitar licks.
And then Stan, his son, heard it, and he said, "That's definitely Dad." So I have no doubt that it was the Carl Perkins that came to record it. But
Carl Perkins wrote a book, a biography, and we went to book signing at the bookstore Jackson, and he looked at it and looked at her and said, and in the book he wrote, "I remember you, Mrs. Lynch." And that made her day.
Oh, I don't know what motivates people to play, but something within them uh, is fulfilled when they play music. And you know, there used to be an expression, well, ain't about the old time fiddlers
Fiddling around, losing a crop,
fiddling around and losing a crop.
I bought on my dad's fiddle. Mother and Dad were married in 1931. And this was the fiddle that my dad had when they were married. And they lived in a little one-room converted schoolhouse. It converted into a little home. And he kept this fiddle in a cardboard box under the bed.
In Missouri. I mean, there's not a lot of the old time fiddle players still around. They're going to be around in a few years. You're right. They're dropping off. And those tunes are too, yeah.
And he had his friction pegs replaced with geared tuners. And you don't see that on a fiddle very much. And I've kept that too. Everybody tells me that if I had the friction pegs put back in, that the sound would be a lot better. But
The people, they didn't ever separate themselves much from their daddy's fiddle or anything. It was
family Bible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the family Bible.
Daddy loved his fiddle. He played a little mandolin, and he could struggle along the guitar, but he loved his fiddle, and that was his main instrument.
Well, my dad was Con Crotts, and he played all over the country, but you know, there was a group of people that all played together, you know.
We would get together on Saturday nights and make music. I started going with Daddy when I was 4 years old. Just a little girl. Would not miss a trip. Father would say, please have the brother off. She'd say, please stay home tonight with me and all. And I'd say, no.
And in Daddy's early life, see, he played for square dances in floor and white. He started playing music when he was quite young. And he found out real quick that he could have a lot of enjoyment by playing music and going to dances. Right. So consequently, he started playing for dances and traveled all over the country. Dad played long before I was even in this world. He played music in Hardin County, McNairy County, Alcorn County, down in Mississippi. He went to Missouri, played music.
And we'd work in the fields all day, being tired. Come here, Mama have food ready. And we would get our baths in the wash tub, and they get the worst dirt. And we would go, and so we got to play with music before we go to bed. We'd go to the piano, and I'd play piano, he'd play fiddle. We played as night, practically. It'd be as many nights. And it was a treat for me because I love music too. And I loved playing with it. Never got tired.
There was just numerous people that came from all around to make music and to play. And like I said a while ago, you never knew who was going to be there. So, you know, sheep and goats going to the pasture. It's the same keep dressing this sound good. So, same for this, the Mets NG. It's NG.
Very simple tune. This is Mr. Con Crotch, one of the first things you ever heard. He loved to play this. And it's just like Sally Goodman. Yeah. I can remember lots of times when someone would show up and play, and they would be maybe not as skilled at keeping time, or maybe being out of tune or whatever the chords were. You know, didn't matter, they just keep playing. And when they get through, it was just this good time as if they had everything been perfect. So, you know, I guess basically the kind of music it was, the people that played it were very accepting of one another and very understanding.
And he put me up on the chair somewhere. I'd get to sing, you know, other songs. But I loved watching all the people play music. It was just the beginning of my life.
I can remember back in those days when we'd all get around and play together. Kay was she was young and she was half her daddy. Best I remember on the piano. He played the fiddle and she played the piano, best I remember.
Dad loved to get into every contest there was, anywhere. He played at all the fairs, you know, that was basically breeding hedger contests. And he'd get in the fiddle contest and he won a lot of trophies. And
If there was a fiddling contest within 50 to 60 miles of Vicky, Tennessee, we were in.
competition was wonderful, especially for fiddlers. They loved these.
Kay and Buddy Perry, but Kay was on Buddy Bain's radio program at the time she was 11 years old. And Daddy played the fiddle on that program.
He was thrilled to that for me to sing on the radio with Buddy, because we listened to Buddy every Saturday on the radio. But when he found out Daddy played the fiddle, he said, Mr. Kahn, bring your fiddle next Saturday and play with us. So Nanny started bringing his fiddle, and we'd go every Saturday and do the bargain hunt every Saturday.
And he would be so proud.
Let me tell you a story that Gene Rex told me not long ago. We passed the house where you lived.
Oh,
and
really?
Gene said there's where Kay was raised, and he said, he said, old man Con, he sat in there in the kitchen, and he played that fiddle till the shadow of his elbow rubbed a hole in the kitchen wall.